You go, girl.
There is a long history of actresses becoming directors, dating all the way back to the early days of film. Into this long and storied history comes Zoe Kravitz, the daughter of Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet. Now, Zoe has been appearing in films and movies and TV shows since 2008. And she's been in some pretty big hits, such as the Divergent series, The Batman, and X-Men First Class. But starring in films is very different from directing them. Now, this past weekend gave us the release of the movie Blink Twice, in which Kravitz not only directed, but produced and co-wrote. So, what do we have here? Does Kravitz hit it out of the park on her directorial debut, or is this a strikeout? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the movie Blink Twice.
Let's talk.
So here we find Frida. She's a struggling cocktail waitress, and she lives with her friend Jess. They both dream of a better life. Now, they're both working a gala, which is being held for Slater King, a tech billionaire. Frida is immediately captivated by the rich and troubled man. However, sparks fly between the two of them, and inexplicably, he invites them to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. It's paradise. Wild nights blend into sun-soaked days, and everyone's having a great time. Nobody wants this trip to end. But strange things start happening. First, Jess notices them, but then so does Frida. Frida begins to question her reality. Something is wrong with this place. When seemingly repressed memories start to creep into her consciousness, she begins to realize that she'll have to uncover the truth and put all the pieces together if she wants to make it out of this party alive. So let's start with what works here. Well, let's start with the acting. Channing Tatum, he's not the strongest performer. He plays Slater King in this. But here he's really well cast. He's a handsome, rich, but obviously deeply troubled billionaire. Does a great job pulling it off. I don't really think it's that much of a stretch for him anyway. We really get a great performance from Naomi Ackie as Frida. Now, last time we saw her, she was Whitney Houston in last year's biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody. It's not the strongest overall film, but she did an excellent job as Whitney Houston. Also, the film's strongest aspect is its ability to balance the allure of luxury with a growing sense of dread. The island itself is a character, its beauty masking the horror that lies beneath of it. This is where Zoe does a fantastic job at directing, setting this up towards the final payoff. Now, what doesn't work here, however, is the overall pacing. This film goes out of its way to set everything up, but it takes a really, really long time to do so. Then, when we finally get to the payoff part of the film, it kind of rushes along to the end. A little less setup and a little bit more payoff would have been better. And finally, the ending here, and I mean the very end, just kind of feels ill-conceived. It was like they had this pretty good story, and they didn't really know how to wrap it up, so they just went with an idea that should have been rejected for something better. Now, this film does attempt to cover some pretty heavy topics, and while some hit the mark, others do not. However, this does not take away from a fairly solid movie. It's nothing you need to see in the theaters, but it is definitely worth your streaming time. So, this film tackles a lot of themes. Some are great, some, not so much. It gives us really strong performances, especially from Ackie and Tatum, and Kravitz as a director. It's beautifully shot, it's creepy and well set up, but the inconsistent tone makes the third act messier than expected, and the very end was weaker than it had to be. So it's not a strikeout, it's not a home run, but let's give Zoe Kravitz a solid double to the wall in her directorial debut. I'm interested to see what she does next.
Pretty good.
Well, that's it for me this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a question. Share this video with friends and enemies alike. And as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.